Are you a service-based business owner looking to increase profits to fund your lifestyle? Well, this podcast is for you. We bring you inspirational guests sharing actionable tips to solve many of the struggles you face each and every day. And now, over to your host, Paul Higgins.
Hello to the Build, Live, Give podcast. If you're a first-time listener, welcome. And if you enjoy it, please subscribe. If you're a regular, thanks for your support. Love to get your feedback at paul@buildlivegive.com. It means the world to me when you do. Our guest today is someone started as a journalist for the Chicago Tribune in tech and realized the large tech companies were selling features and not benefits. Let's be honest, they weren't great at it. His wife said there was a consulting opportunity in it to help these people, and now he helps salespeople to overcome fear and rejection in sales, and most importantly, be a proactive sales person. So why listen? What percentage of sales is mindset and how to improve it? Number 2, an incredible sales follow-up sequence I will personally swipe and deploy ASAP. And number 3, what you can do in 5 minutes of selling time a day to exceed your sales targets. They have also kindly given 4 tools for BLG listeners to help you with your sales. So over now to Alex Goldfayn. Welcome, Alex Goldfayn, to the Build, Live, Give podcast. Brilliant having you on today, Alex.
Thank you so much for having me, Paul. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, look, I'm really looking forward to this because I know your background is something that I love. Plus, what you do today is also so relevant for everyone listening. And you're a journalist. Journalists always make great people to interview. Or you were a journalist, but I suppose you've always been. Well, it's always in there, right? You never lose it.
My wife said that I have to start making money, so I'm a former journalist.
Former journalist. Love it, love it. So why don't we start with something that your family or friends know about you that we may not?
So I keep a huge vegetable garden, and that's where I blow off steam. And so I have 24 different heirloom tomatoes growing. I'm looking out my window now, looking at it. This year, for the first time, Paul, I'm trying to grow a giant pumpkin. If I get into the hundreds of pounds, I'll be very happy. These things are full-time work. I've got 4 plants going. They're full-time work. And that's where I kind of go to blow off steam.
And is the pumpkin going to enter itself into a competition, or is it just for bragging rights?
I have no idea how I might get it to a competition because these things get so big. I don't have a vehicle that would transport such a pumpkin. I don't have a pickup truck. I think that's how they do it. I also, frankly, as we talk to each other right now, I have no idea how I'm even going to get it from the patch that it is in my backyard over to the front door. I don't have the machinery to do that, to display it. So as these things get figured out, I'll come back to you and tell you what happened because I frankly don't know what the answer is right now.
Yeah, well, like anything in life, just go to someone that's done it before. So I'm sure there's a community or a Facebook group or something.
There is. It's amazing. Every little tiny niche thing has its own community, and there is certainly one for this.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. And, you might have to hire a helicopter to get it there. So, like we talked about, you were a former journalist at the Chicago Tribune, and you also had a radio show, etc. So take us through a little bit of what you were doing then and how that's turned into running your brilliant sales consulting and training business.
Sure. Thank you. So I, years ago, probably a dozen years ago or so, I was a syndicated technology columnist for the Chicago Tribune. My work ran in 300 different publications around the world, and I covered technology. As we talked about before we started here, Paul, I did this at the time that the first iPhone came out, at the time that the first flat panel TV came out. We went from tube to flat panels when I was covering technology. So you know how many years ago that was. Many. And so it was a great time to be covering technology, but all these technology companies were marketing their products to me because they wanted me to cover it. Well, they were awful at it. They were succeeding in spite of their marketing. I don't know if you remember how desktop computers used to be marketed, but it was all specs. It was all gigahertz and megabytes and RAM. And the old ads on the backs of magazines just would have like 25 pictures of little desktop computers on it on one page.
Well,
So, anyway.
the irony there, Alex, is that we used to show. So I was at Coca-Cola, so we used to show, this is how not to do things, right? And we'd often use those magazines as examples. They're talking about the sausage, not the sizzle, was a classic word that the Coke company used to use, right? But the funny thing now is most of those companies now are the highest valued companies in the world. And unfortunately, Coke forgot to remember that not everyone loves sugar.
Interesting.
So it's,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting you work there.
Yeah, so you were, so you were helping them basically sell the sizzle, not the sausage. And then what happened from there?
Yeah, so I started helping them, and my wife said that you can get paid for this. So I started charging for it, and it grew a consulting practice on marketing consumer electronics. So all those companies became my clients. And I wrote a book called Evangelist Marketing, which was my first sales or marketing related book. It was about how to market consumer electronics. It came out. As soon as it came out, non-technology companies started calling me, manufacturers, distributors, service companies, and I started helping them do the same thing, and the work shifted to selling. Since then, I've written 3 books. The Revenue Growth Habit was the first one of the sales books. Then Selling Boldly, which came out 2 years ago. And coming out next month, just about a month from when we speak here, end of August, is 5-Minute Selling, which is all about how to grow your sales in 5 proactive minutes a day.
Excellent. And look, we'll definitely have all the links to those books in the show notes. So, for you, I suppose, being the way that the journalism industry is structured, even back then, was the transition easier, harder going to a consulting business?
I wrote the column as on a contract basis. So I never was, in a newsroom with both feet, and I didn't want to be. It's kind of how I liked it. I will tell you that the mindset that one needs, and I spend a lot of time working with my clients on mindset, and also a lot of time in my books talking about mindset. The mindset we need to be successful as business owners, as service business owners, is completely, entirely, utterly the opposite of the mindset that journalists have.
Tell me more. Why?
Well, journalists, not so much in technology, but if you look at news about the world and about what's happening, they get rewarded based on how afraid they can make us. And the more fear that they create, the more clicks they generate, the more eyeballs they get, the better they do. It's the same on TV news. It's the same on any news. Open a newspaper or a web browser to a news site, or turn on your evening news, right? Local or national. And it's all about how miserable they can make you. The more miserable, the better for them. In business, that doesn't work so good. You can't sell a lot if the job is to make people afraid.
Yes.
You can just make people afraid. And further, if you have fear, it's very difficult to sell successfully. And so my work kind of goes in the opposite direction and uses the principles of positive psychology. And positive psychology is the study of what makes us happy and successful, as opposed to the rest of psychology, which is the study of what makes us screwed up, right? And so I work closely with sales teams, with organizations, on things like optimism and positivity and gratitude and boldness and enthusiasm. It's the one that I tell my clients all the time. The only thing you can't really teach to people is enthusiasm, right? I could teach about products, I could teach about services, I could teach about technical details, but I cannot teach somebody how to be positive and enthusiastic. And so that's where we focus. And because we can't outsell our mindset and how we think, we focus on getting the mindset right. And then ironically, that's like 70% of the work. And 30% of the work is the system and the technique.
Yeah.
Because that part's not that hard. The mindset, the psychology, that's the hardest thing.
Yeah, look, I completely agree. I've got like a 3-step framework: mindset, skills, and systems. And you're right. I think, the 70%. But look, I've got people listening from all over the world at the moment, and they're like, but aren't Americans just, naturally inclined to be positive people? Like, how do you get Americans to be more positive? Because that's the picture I have of them. So what do you say when people say that?
It's interesting. People who have to sell, and hopefully it's okay I take the conversation that direction.
Yeah, definitely.
Our listeners who run, service companies or sell services right now. People who sell tend to be driven by fear. And the fear is of almost always of rejection or failure, one or the other. And sales is a game of rejection and overcoming it. In American baseball, you can fail 70% of the time as a hitter, and bat 300 and go to the Hall of Fame if you fail 70% of the time. In sales, we fail more than that. So many of the most successful salespeople who I know are failing 80 to 90% of the time. That means they only experience success 10 to 20% of the time. So it takes a hell of a lot of work to train your mind, to understand that the no's, all those no's get us to the yeses. And that we must fail a lot or else we won't succeed. We have to fail. Because if we're not failing, we're not trying, are we? We're not exerting sales effort.
Yeah, look, I hear, and if you think, average conversion rates are around 20%, especially in a B2B service-based business. So you're right, that 80% is it's like the quote, you take it, I don't know how many times, I think it was Thomas Edison, wasn't it? How many times he took to get the light bulb to work. It was only, he was only one step from success the whole time through. So,
Yeah. You know what? I'm sorry to jump in.
Go for it.
Quote. I know that quote verbatim.
Go for it. You'll do a better job than I did.
Well, I do. Well, I love the quote. It's literally my favorite quote. I do 2 quotes in my speeches and workshops, and that's one of them. And so I've said it so many times, I know it off my head. The quote is, many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up.
Excellent. And I hope I've at least got the right person. It was Thomas Edison.
No, it was exactly Thomas Edison. Yeah. And the magic of that quote is you never know if the next effort is going to be the one that gets you there. And if you've already been rejected 8 times by this person, then what the hell's a 9th rejection, really? I mean, it's the same. It's no worse. A 9th is no worse than 8. So don't stop. Keep trying. Now, don't annoy them, right? Don't be annoying. But ask a different way. Try a different angle. Ask a different person. Give it a month. Try again. Let some time go by. And Martin Seligman, the founder of positive psychology, found that perseverance is twice as important to success as talent is. Right? And that might be even more so important in sales for us. Yeah. Not giving up is literally the key to sales success.
Yeah, and look, it must be one of the reasons why I'm fairly successful in sales is because, I think most of people that have been following me and my great guests on the show is, I have had a kidney transplant, and to be honest, when you're at 6% kidney function, it's not a lot of fun, right? But you just have to keep getting up, and because it's a simple process that the sooner you go on dialysis, you'll last about 10 years on dialysis. Most transplants last about 20 years, right? So you're every day looking at the fact that, yes, I want to see my grandkids, so I'm just going to last another day, and I'm going to last another day, right? And I think that tenacity and not giving up that, some people deal with in health is the exact same thing you can do with in sales. And look, just before we get to more detail on the 5-minute selling, because I really want to understand that concept, like, who do you love to work with now? Like you said, you were tech, then it was more general, but who are your ideal clients that you love helping them with their mindset today?
So I work with manufacturers and distributors predominantly. So people who make something or then distribute it to the end user in very sexy industries like lumber and carton and plumbing and HVAC and steel. And I have a bunch of service clients as well. The other sort of 20 to 30% of my clients are firms like engineering firms, law firms, accounting firms, people who sell services, people who often say, I didn't go to law school in order to sell. But, you're a partner in the company and we kind of need the company to grow.
Yes.
So the interesting thing, I was talking to somebody about a week ago and they said to me, Alex, I really don't like selling. And he was doing a sales podcast, right? He was a host of a sales podcast. He said, I don't like selling. And I started thinking about it, like, nobody really likes to sell, because of all the rejection that's in it. And yet, the world revolves because of us people who sell, right? I mean, who do you think is going to get us out of this COVID pandemic depression, this business gigantic downturn we're having? On the day that you and I are talking, Paul, in the U.S., they said that the gross domestic product, basically our economy, was down 32% last quarter. That's a third. Our economy lost a third in the U.S. Who's going to get us out of that? You know who's going to do that? Salespeople will.
Yes.
People who sell stuff. If you own a company and your job is to help other companies, then you're the one who's going to get us out of this.
All right, so let's talk about how. Okay, so you've got, I think, the 31st of August the show's going live, so you can actually go and get the 5-minute selling, which is a new book. But what's 5-minute selling all about? You hear that there's, one point there's 7 touch points, and now I've heard as much as 77 touch points before someone buys. 5-minute selling. That just seems too quick. Tell me about that.
So the premise behind that, Paul, is if you can give 5 combined minutes a day of proactive efforts that are all laid out in the book, right? Exactly what to do and what to say. Even scripts are all over the book. You can grow your sales dramatically. And so the reasoning here is that most salespeople operate totally reactively, which means if you run a service business or if you work at a service company, and you're listening, most of the day is spent reacting to customers or clients' issues, problems, demands, commands, jumping through the hoops they put up for us. When do clients call, Paul? When they're happy? When everything's good? Hey, great job. That was awesome. Can I pay you more? Do we get a lot of those calls?
No.
No, we don't get those calls. When do they call?
Yeah, when they want something.
Yeah, when they need something, when something's wrong, when you screwed it up, when you didn't do it right, when you didn't send enough, when you're late. So we spend our days solving customers' problems, and we're good at it. We're world class at it, but that's reactive. And 90% of sales people who sell, when I say salespeople, which is inclusive of us, people who run companies, it's inclusive of us owners, because I run a consulting practice myself. And so, sorry, before I said that, what was I talking about?
Yeah, so you were talking about being reactive. So how do you turn it into proactive?
Right. So 90% of us are completely reactive. And 5 minutes of proactive effort every day, like picking up the phone and calling a customer proactively when nothing is wrong, because just as customers call us when something's wrong, they only hear from us salespeople when we have a problem to communicate to them. So picking up the phone and calling them and saying, Joe, how's your life? How's the family? How are the kids, right? How are you getting through this difficult time? What are you doing for school in the fall? Or asking a did you know question. Did you know that I can also help you with this or that. So we were talking a little bit, Paul, before we started recording here. And so just the did you know is you telling me something else that you do. Did you know that I can help you with this or that? And you said a couple really interesting ones that I didn't know about. So go ahead and share a did you know question with me. Did you know what?
So did you know that I can help you get more clients on LinkedIn?
That was exactly the one I was hoping you'd say, because I had no idea you did that. And I've been to your website and I had no idea you did that. So that's exactly that. And how long did that take you to say? 3 seconds?
Yes. Maybe?
And I caught you off guard, right? You didn't know I'd be asking you to say that. And still took you 3 seconds to say it.
So we've got phone relationship, which is brilliant. What are some other key things that people could do in that cumulative 5 minutes? So I think what you're saying here is little micro actions that can lead up to 5 minutes. So what are some of the other things they can do?
So reverse did you know question is, what else do you need that I can help you with? Or what other services are you buying elsewhere that I can help you with? Or, in your case, how can I help you get clients on LinkedIn? The reverse did you know question, instead of us suggesting a service to the customer, we ask the client to tell us what they need. Very powerful question. Also 3 seconds.
Yeah, and I think it's and what you're talking about with phone, I think does relate directly to the work we're doing on LinkedIn, because I think most people, and your background, I can tell you're good at asking questions, right? But I think unfortunately most people treat LinkedIn, I think it may be because of that fear of rejection or failure, is they just answer. They answer the question on behalf of the client. So, like for me, I often just ask I call it a hot potato, just short open questions like, is LinkedIn important to you? Where does LinkedIn fit in your marketing mix? Are you getting everything you want out of posting on LinkedIn? Just those short little questions that build the bridge is what I think is really powerful. Now, so what we're doing on LinkedIn, does that correlate to what you're talking about in your 5 minute selling?
Yeah, well, so you're asking really good foundational questions as a salesperson, right? And then I could tell you're really good at silence also, right? You're really good at asking the question and then listening for the answer. Another thing most salespeople are terrible at. So much business is lost to nervous chatter that fills the silence, And my message is they're not silent. They're not being quiet because they're uncomfortable. They're being quiet because they're thinking about the answer to your question. Yes. And they didn't know you were going to ask this question. You knew you were going to ask for this referral. You've been planning it for 2 weeks in your head, getting ready to do it. They didn't know you were going to ask them for a referral. So let them think and don't talk over them. So the short answer to your question is the language you're using is excellent. In 5 minute selling, where I'm trying to get people to either make contact with customers and prospects they haven't talked to in a while, right? Communicate with people who aren't calling in all the time. I'm trying to get people to educate customers and prospects about what else they can buy from you, because people tend to niche us. Well, he only does sales coaching. He doesn't do LinkedIn, right? That's the niche. Or the people working with you on LinkedIn, they don't know you do sales coaching. And similarly, we niche them. So salespeople almost always say, well, if they need it, they'll ask me for it. They don't know that the customer has us niched, and then also we have them niched. We salespeople have the customer niched as well. This is what they buy from us. They don't need anything else. So make contact with customers and prospects. Educate them on what else they can buy from you systematically. We have to do these things in system. The whole book is a system, which I'd like to come back around to, but let me give you 2 more. Following up on quotes and proposals. So most of us, because we don't want to be rejected, and this drives our behavior in sales, we'll send the quote or the proposal. We've done all the work. We've done 99% of the work. We've built the relationship. We've serviced the customer. We've written the quote or the proposal that they've asked us for, and then we've sent it to them. And then because we don't want to get rejected, we do not follow up typically. And also because we're busy, right? Because we're spending our days being reactive and responding to customers who are inquiring. So I teach a 3 follow-up process that closes 20 to 30% of outstanding quotes,
Right.
which is a gigantic number because most of my clients average about 20% of quotes closed. So we close 20 to 30% of the remaining 80%. So business goes up dramatically.
And what are those 3 things?
So the first one is, and all 3 things ideally are done either with a call or with a text message, right? And you can guess where everybody sort of defaults to, right?
Yeah,
we go to the less threatening one, which is the text message.
The text, yeah.
So the first follow-up is, hey, Paul, did you get it? I want to make sure it got to you because these things tend to get picked off by spam filters. And I would send that within 12 to 24 hours of sending my proposal. The second one is, if you still haven't responded, I would say, Paul, I was just thinking about you. Where are you at in that proposal we talked about? I'd love to help you. It's a one-liner. All of these are one-liners.
Yeah.
Now, if you still haven't responded and I followed up with you twice, I feel like you're being a little bit rude to me. And let's say you're being impolite. And because it's 3 communications, right? Sending the proposal was the first one, which you asked me for. I'm not going to send you one if you don't want one. The second one is, hey, man, did you get it? The third one is, where are you at in that? I'd like to help you. The fourth quote now is saying, Paul, I haven't heard from you. I wanted to let you know the proposal is going to expire in a day or 2. So you pick if you want 24 or 48 hours. And if you'd like to work on this, and I hope we can, please let me know within the next 24 to 48 hours because I'd love to help you. If not, I hope we can come together on something soon. So it's I guess in sort of cold sales jargon, you kind of tell them that you're taking it away because that's fair. And it's also not fair to your other clients and your other prospects because you're waiting on this one. And many times the prospect hits reply and says, no, wait, not yet. So those are the 3 follow-ups.
Love it.
20 to 30% of what's outstanding.
Yeah, no, look, if that's, that's a huge takeaway because I have a similar process, but I love that last one, right? The expire. I think scarcity is still a brilliant way. As a quick example, I was about to move my price. So, the 1st of August, my price on a particular membership, my LinkedIn membership is moving. And I just sent it to people that were sitting on the fence and I sent it to them and I closed 5 people yesterday just from the fact, there was that scarcity and it wasn't a made up scarcity. It was like I did, was putting up the price. So I love that. So, so everyone listening, the book will be launched. Where can they go and get the book? What will be the URL for them to get the book?
You can get the book wherever they sell books. So it's published by Wiley, and you can go to Amazon and buy it there. You can buy it wherever you buy books.
Great. And it's 5 is in numeral 5-minute selling.
Yes.
All right. Excellent. Well, I suppose we've been talking about a little some brilliant techniques by Alex, and what I'd like to do is just talk to you about how to get more clients on LinkedIn. So, by spending 30 minutes a day, even if you don't know where to start and how, or have limited marketing funds. So I've got a pre-recorded masterclass. You just go to blgclick.com. So that's blgclick.com. And I'll really go through 3 key steps with you. One is how to 10 times your views to be an authority on LinkedIn. The second is the 7 elements to get 50 likes and 20 comments on every post. And the third is the scripts then to get 80% response rates to your LinkedIn messages. And I highly recommend you read Alex's book and put some of those in the scripts, and I'll definitely be doing that as well. So just go to blgclick.com, and many of the activities can be implemented by a virtual assistant. So if you don't have a virtual assistant, a VA, and you'd like to learn more, just go to buildlivegive.com/VA. So the next section is the live section. Alex, so what are some daily habits that help you be successful?
So I think the top one is so far and away more important than the rest. And that is every day, first thing in the morning, I send communications out to 5 different people, and I do this by email or text. And I've even automated it with my assistant, because you just mentioned assistants. We send texts or emails to 5 either past clients or prospective clients about connecting and catching up on a phone call. And the average is 2 or 3 out of the 5 will eventually set up a call, and we connect and we talk like humans. And that's the thing, that's one of the key things that drives my business. And it's certainly been the thing that drives my business in the midst of this pandemic. Because the other thing that drives my business, my process, and I just got a glimpse of your process, right? So my process is I speak a lot. And for me, keynote speeches and workshops are my social media. I'm actually no good on actual social media, but I'm quite good at growing my business through speaking. And so we work on booking lots of talks where there are prospective clients in the audience, and I go there and I speak. And so, but the daily habit that takes, you could send your 5 inquiries in 45 seconds, in a minute, total, not each, total, is try to set up 5 calls every day. Not for that day, but just 5 calls every day. And if you've got that part of the process running, you know that your business will grow.
Yeah, look, that's great. I did think you were going to mention the veggie patch, but that's okay. And your pumpkin, but look, that's brilliant. I think that's a great habit. And just quickly on speaking, so, obviously you're doing a lot of it in person, live. What's happened with the transition to virtual? How have you seen that change?
Well, I mean, you can guess what's happened, right? It's all gone virtual. Which is difficult for the clients that I speak for, which are associations and executive groups. And you go from being somebody who's like that's my special skill in the world, right? And now you're a box on a Zoom call with literally everybody else in the world. So that's where those daily telephone outreach, the daily phone scheduling has I look for simple, fast systems, and so it's almost a replacement for the number of prospect conversations that I've had from speaking, without traveling, without getting on a plane, without leaving my family. It's almost a replacement. Just as I get energy from speeches and giving them, I get energy from connecting with people on the phone and catching up and talking about our families and talking about how I can help them. So that's what it is.
Yeah,
almost all of us. If you've been in business for any number of years, almost all of us have hundreds of people who know our name and whose name we know that we can reach out to. And so that's all I'm doing.
Yeah, I think that's great. And look, for me, when I was on dialysis, 3 days a week, 4.5 hours, I couldn't, obviously I couldn't ask people to come to me. So I learned the art through LinkedIn of just doing exactly what you're talking about. And, it was, fortunately for me, what I felt as a bit of an injustice is now turned into one of the most positive things, because I've just continued it through COVID time. And, to me, I think if you are listening to this and you're thinking that your traditional forms of revenue and your traditional forms of sales has dried up, definitely have a look at the virtual coffee that's happening on LinkedIn. It's the exact same human relationship, but it's just done with the aid of, being in your tracksuit pants at home. Is it tracksuit pants, or what do you call them in the States?
Tracksuit pants.
Yeah.
I think I know what that is, but give me context.
Well, it's basically, like your athletic pants. It's your pants that you wear when no one else is looking.
Yeah, no, we have sweats, yeah.
Oh, sweats. Okay, got it. All right, excellent. Well, look, I know we're getting a bit tight on time now, but what I'd love to hear from you is Lisa, right? You've got Lisa and your 10-year-old twins.
Yes.
Lisa, she's been there for a long time. She was the person, what you said before, is to you should start a consulting business. But what would you like to say to her about the support she's given you through this journey?
So I've had entire years in my business, Paul, where she's believed in me more than I believed in myself. And we've been out of money multiple times, so the last couple of years I've run a $3 million solo consulting practice. And, the many years before that were very, very good also. But, entrepreneurship has its ups and has its downs. And we've had some very deep downs. We've had difficult downs. And if it wasn't for Lisa, there's no other way to say it, but I probably would have stopped. I'd probably have a job, which actually I've never had a job in my life. I went straight into business. I went to college, a year of grad school, straight into business. So it's because of Lisa that I get to do what I'm doing now, frankly, that you and I get to be talking.
Excellent. Well, the next section's a give section. And what's a charity or a community that you're passionate about and why?
So our kids go to a school here of which I'm on the board, and it's a fabulous independent day school called the Lake Forest Country Day School in the suburb of Chicago in which I live. And it's a place where they actually teach positive psychology and optimism to the kids. And as you know, just from our brief time talking, I'm big on that. And they literally teach perseverance, and they teach optimism, and they teach these things that if they were taught when I went to school, I feel like it would have had a huge impact on my life. And so a lot of our time and also free money goes there.
Yeah, awesome. And look, I've got a charity that I give all my book proceeds to. It's called, my book's called Build, Live, Give, and the charity is called The Purple House. So you can find out more at thepurplehouse.org.au. And the last section is the rapid fire section. Okay, so I've got the timer on, Alex, and we're going to pound through these questions. So the first one is, what are your top 3 personal effectiveness tips?
If you have to do something difficult, do it early, because the frog's not going to taste any better later in the day.
Yep. Number 2.
Mark Twain said that. Number 2, I use a Pomodoro timer, and I know you're going to get to tech, but sometimes when there's a lot of free time, when there's a lot of unscheduled time, it's hard to start that thing that you have to do. Well, a Pomodoro timer makes it so that you only have to do it while the clock is running, and you determine the interval. And when the clock dings, when the timer's done, you can get up and have a break and walk around. So Pomodoro timer number 2.
Love it. And
number 3, it's just being present, so it's a little more vague than the first 2. Being present, communicate with people, don't go silent, don't disappear, because if you're not talking to them or with them, chances are really good they're not thinking about you. Yeah. And just remember that the vast majority of salespeople tend to be rather silent and reactive. They answer what's incoming, they take what comes in, but they don't do a lot out. And if you can get good at picking up the telephone and talking to people, you're going to be in the top 5 to 10% of all salespeople instantly. And you're going to open up such a gap between yourself and others that the others will not be able to close the distance.
Excellent. And what's a piece of tech that is essential to running your business?
I'm going to go with a good microphone here. And I recently switched from a Blue Yeti microphone to an Audio Technica cardioid dynamic mic. Plugs right into my USB. It sounds so much better. It doesn't have that annoying squeak. And now that we're in the middle of a pandemic, I use this microphone every single day.
Yeah, look, I know it's such a simple thing. They're not expensive. Yeah, if you're on Zoom all the time, it just makes such a difference to have a good mic. So totally agree. And what's some of the best sources of new ideas for you?
Boy, that's really interesting. Honestly, it's those conversations.
Yeah.
I had an idea for a new sort of line of business to which the reaction has been extraordinarily high. And it came about from just one of those proactive conversations. When you talk to people, when you get to kick around ideas back and forth with smart people, and many of the people we call are smart people, you get inspiration for new ideas.
Yeah, brilliant. And last question is the big question. I always leave it to the end, but what impact do you want to leave on the world?
Man, I just want to be remembered as somebody who didn't give up trying to help people. If my kids can look at me and say, Dad persevered like crazy and didn't stop trying to help people, that's really it. I mean, what can you do better than, after you're gone, people say, well, he really tried to help. He tried to help people. And I'm trying to teach that to my kids, and I'm trying to teach perseverance by example. That's really it.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, look, as I said, you can find out more about the 5 Minute Selling. It'll be launched on the day that this podcast goes live. We completely orchestrated that, didn't we, Alex?
Yes, sir. We did beautifully well. And we is you, isn't it? So thank you very much, Paul.
Yeah, but there's so Alex has got some fantastic tools to help you with the 5 Minute Selling. So if you just go to Goldfayn, so golden, FAYN.com/BLG, we'll have those tools for you. And Alex has also got some brilliant tools already on his website as well, which is once again goldfayn.com. So Alex, loved having you on the show. Always love speaking to smart people, but also that have got a journalistic background, former journalist, as you said, and all the best with that pumpkin. And we'd love to see some photos soon.
I will make sure you get some, as long as they're not embarrassing and the pumpkin actually has some size to it.
Well, hey, remember, you don't mind rejection, right? So fear rejection. So no matter the size, you're going to show those photos.
Rejected by a pumpkin. I wanted to thank you very, very much for having me on. I appreciate it a whole lot. I'm grateful for the work that you're doing and the focus on, sort of personal mission that you have. It's really cool and different and powerful. So I'm grateful to be able to talk with you, Paul.
Brilliant. Thanks, Alex. Have a brilliant day.
You as well.
I really loved that interview with Alex. I know it went a little bit longer, but he had just so much great content to share that I let it run a little longer. But you can get the information at the show notes at buildlivegive.com. But most importantly, take those sales follow-up scripts. I absolutely love those. Take them and use them. And his positivity and also his outline is needed in a time where the USA GDP is down by a third, as he said. So what is your biggest takeaway from Alex? Please share on your socials mentioning Alex and the 5 Minute Selling book. Also grab your free resources that Alex has kindly given at alexgoldfayn.com/BLG. So once again, that link's going to be in the show notes. But it's Gold, FAYN is Goldfayn. If you believe someone you know would benefit from the show, and I know there's plenty of people that would, please share it with them. You can learn the 3 tips to find and convert your ideal clients on LinkedIn and a free pre-recorded masterclass. Just go to blgclick.com. Please take action to build your profit, to fund your lifestyle, and stay well.
Thanks for listening to the Build, Live, Give podcast. If you like what you heard, please share it and leave us a review. It would mean the world to us.